Hello and welcome to another episode of the Silk and Steel podcast. Today we will continue our conversation with the godfather of Chinese hip hop, Detroit Showtime, aka Dana Burton, who has been my friend for a long time and guest on my show many times. But today I want to ask him. I want to ask you, Dana, about how you actually became the godfather of Chinese hip hop. You know, from a young man straight out of Detroit, how did you become this ambassador of Black American culture to China?
Thank you for having me on the show. Peace and blessings, love and light. This is Showtime from the Almighty Iron Mike, reporting live from the City of Dreams in the belly of the beast, Shanghai, China. And yeah, how did I become the godfather of Chinese hip hop? I would say that it's a very interesting title. It's a title that I'm kind of haphazard about embracing. It's kind of stuck with me. Definitely in the Western media, it comes up over and over again. I think one of the first times someone put that label on me was Shanghai Daily. Shanghai Daily did a story about me, and it said Godfather of Hip Hop. A couple blog sites. I know Jeff Chang in 2007. He did an article about hip hop, global hip hop, in Foreign Policy magazine, and I was heavily featured. I was the lead story, and it talked about sort of me being a hip hop mogul, and a lot of shows they put that title, Godfather of Chinese hip hop, and I've thought about this a bit because I'm a humble guy. I actually don't need any titles. I don't mind being called Showtime. That's my nickname. My friends call me Dana. I'm really at peace with that. I'm really good with that. I'm cool with that. But yeah, and a title like that, it is just it encompasses a lot, man. Saying you're the godfather of anything, so you can imagine what that would entail. But you know, to be honest, in my heart of hearts, after 25 years living in the People's Republic of China, I'm just so blessed and fortunate through this hip hop community that I've become an actual godfather. I have a goddaughter, and I just celebrated her 5th birthday. And there's nothing more precious and important to me than that role as a literal godfather. Um, and it was through hip hop that I became, the godfather of a baby girl. Her name is Yancey, named after Beyonce, but the names that start with B aren't that auspicious in China, so they changed it to Yancey, kind of like Louis Vuitton, like the same Yancey. So but anyway, what a blessing, what a joy. I've had the opportunity to impact so many people's lives through my love and passion of hip hop. And I remember when you came to China and you put the tweet, you put the tweet up like I'm hanging out with the godfather of hip hop in China, and then somebody immediately, the first response was like, "He's not the godfather. You don't know what you're talking about." Then I had to stop and think and say, okay, if I'm not the godfather, who is the godfather? Who is it? Let me know. After all these years in hip hop, who's more of an OG than me? Who's been on the scene longer than me? Who's had a more impact? I wanted to know, honestly. So I put into Grok AI, who's the godfather, and sure enough, it was me. So, and I wanted to, kind of flex on the young man, but that'd be a little bit too much. But it does come up as me. I did look on some other AI searches, and I wasn't the first one to get mentioned. And a couple of them, some didn't mention me, and I asked them, I said, "How are you going to leave me off the list?" And they said, "Oh yeah, we can't forget about you." But you're not going to find too many people that have dedicated, 26 years of their life in hip hop in China. They just don't exist. There's a handful of guys, some b-boys, some DJs. Most of the people, they've fallen off to the wayside. But I came in 1999. I jumped off the plane. I hooked up with some promoters online. It was a kid from New York named Tito. He went by the name of DJ Chivez and DJ App, and he was studying at Fudan University moonlighting, DJing, and he hooked up with the local DJ in Shanghai, B-Nuts, and somehow after researching on the internet and not being able to find anything about hip hop in China, I found like one random poster that had a phone number on it. So I connected with the guy in China, said I was coming because I was coming to teach at Shanghai High School at the international school to teach history and English. And I knew I loved hip hop, and there was an opening in China. It really hadn't developed yet. So this would be my calling. Called these guys up the second night in Shanghai. I was at the nightclub hanging out and got introduced to this small community, the core community in Shanghai of hip hop lovers, or mostly dancers and a DJ, and we couldn't find any rappers. And for the next 2 years, I was promoting and rapping and trying to, find rappers and develop the rap scene. I founded the Iron Mic in 2002. This is a freestyle rap battle, and I founded that before the rap battle craze was even big in the United States, before 8 Mile movie even came out, when it was a really underground thing. And I've been doing it for 26 years, the longest running rap battle in the world. And it expanded into a bit of an empire. But even beyond the Iron Mic and the rap battle that I'm most famous for, I've just always been a bit of a philanthropist and an investor in the hip hop community, and just devoted a tremendous amount of time and resources. Whatever business that I was involved in, I had some really cool windfalls. I was in advertising, high-end luxury brand advertising for over a decade, and it allowed me the opportunity to have the resources to kind of fund as well, occasional opportunities to have corporate brands fund a lot of my different events and activities. So I was the party guy, always throwing events to the tune of, I started Iron Mic in a shopping mall in Shanghai with a group of friends. It was a free event. I think about 600, 700 kids showed up, no tickets. We got a little sponsorship to help cover the cost. I was so broke I could barely pay my rent. At the end of the battle, we had 10 guys from across the country. I didn't have enough money to even, I gave them a ticket. It said 1,000 RMB prize money. I didn't even have the money to pay them. They had to wait so I could pay them later. That's how poor I was, living out of a one-bedroom apartment, trying to build this dream. But it evolved from that event to doing other cities and 20, 30 cities a year, to ultimately getting sponsorship and doing 116 shows in 60 cities in a year, and blowing up to have my own agency where I'm managing 400 events a year. So very few people have traveled as far and wide as I have off of hip hop in China. And it's just, opened up an entire universe of people and stories that I want to get into with you today. I have this video that they've made. It's all in Chinese. No one knows about me in the West. I'm non-existent because it's China, and who cares about what's happening in China? We don't want to know what's going on over there, especially if they're doing something cool and innovative and fun, and it may look a little bit better than what we're doing. We don't want to leak that secret. But they have this video, and I think maybe I could try to narrate it, and if you have some questions, we can get through it. So that's the rap of China. It came out 2016, and you see Eminem here. Detroit is just instrumental in the hip-hop scene in China. He's the biggest rapper, and so battle rap really drove the hip-hop community based off of my rap battle. And so
that
all of
is
the
you.
rappers
That is you. That's
me hanging out, posting in front of some graffiti, just classic traditional b-boy stance, vibing out. Amazing graffiti scene in China, mind-blowing. There was a lot of graffiti on the streets of Beijing and Guangzhou, and a lot of these artists have blown up, but the street art is phenomenal all across the country. I've even done graffiti battles early on, nationwide graffiti battles. But yeah, those guys, the quick flash of these rappers that are all mega celebrities now, they got their start through the Iron Mic. And I came in 1999 doing parties that kind of look like this, these underground clubs and venues. Blazing MCs, Johnny Blaze from New York. I'll stop on that actually. Johnny Blaze. Now I wonder if I can go back. Yeah, so Johnny Blaze, really interesting story. He was my first sponsor for the Iron Mic. There we go. That ticket. That's a classic ticket. I always talk about that. So Blaze and MC contest. So before it was the Iron Mike, it was Blaze and MCs, and it says Johnny Blaze. Patrick Ying is an amazing story. Patrick Ying is a Shanghainese clothing manufacturer, and he went to New York around 86, 87, around the time, yeah, right around before the LA Olympics. So he goes to New York, he moves to New York, moves to America, a young guy, he knows manufacturing. He sees the Olympics and he gets the idea, why don't I make some t-shirts for the Olympics? And he makes all these bootleg t-shirts and he makes a ton of money. And that's how he started his manufacturing company in New York. And he hooked up with the early New York fashion icons, these jean wear, like these guys that were doing jeans, Sir Benny Miles. So he hooked up with Sir Benny Miles, was the manufacturer for him, doing the jeans. This is around the time of Cross Colors, Karl, and Patrick got in the game doing clothes for those guys. He kind of fell out with Sir Benny Miles, and then he got the brilliant idea to start his own hip hop fashion brand in New York. And so he started Johnny Blaze, a Chinese guy from Shanghai, starts this hip hop brand, and he was the first one to get all of the rappers, all the hardcore rappers in New York to do an advertisement for his clothing brand. At a time, nowadays, you'll never be able to get all those rappers for one brand because they all have their own brand. But he got Wu-Tang Clan, he got Mobb Deep, he got Guru, he got everyone that was hot in New York. Were all Fat Joe. Maybe Fat Joe didn't do it because he got Method Man, all these people. Because the name was really hot, Johnny Blaze was booming at that time because I think Fat Joe had a song, and he pioneered these hoodies, these really thick hoodies that were really useful in New York because they were suitable for the environment, the denim jeans, and he went on to have a very successful career. He had a vertical company where he hired up the designers, manufactured in Shanghai, direct from factory to distributor. And he found out a way how to do mass distribution. He did deals with like J.C. Penney's and Walmart. So he was doing huge numbers, volume. And unlike many of the other brands that you own the brand, but you actually sold it to a manufacturing clothing company. And this big manufacturing clothing company that had all these supplier companies, and you wasted a lot of money. Patrick became a multi-millionaire, 7 million, easy in a year. I think he did like 35 million in a year. He was doing NBA numbers just off of clothing and took a lot of it. He was my first sponsor, and I met him on the streets of Shanghai throwing a hip hop party. One of his designers came to the party and was looking for models, and he got some of my people, to model. And I hooked up with him, and I wanted to find out about this clothing brand. I met Patrick. I told him I was doing a battle. And he said, how much to sponsor? I said, $1,000. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how much signage is, sponsorship is. Like when he asked me on the spot, I didn't have a figure. So I just said $1,000. And he literally went into his pocket and started pulling out cash and just threw it on the table. And he said, hey, man, you can't get anything for $1,000 in New York. And he gave me the clothes, and that's how we got our first sponsorship and how the original rap battle started.
Wow, what a story.
So yeah, let's pick it back up. Let's see. We got Johnny Blaze, and this was a venue actually. This little venue where we did the rap battle. It's just Pop MC in the back. It's just like a performance hall in a shopping mall. It's a very famous shopping mall that's quite endearing to the people in Shanghai. It's called Yaxin Shenhuo Guanchang, and it's one of the first kind of modern shopping malls. Of course, we got Dasher Jia, the famous historical, shopping mall from the 1920s and 30s, the big old Art Deco style building. But this was like a modern, commercial, westernized shopping mall, and it was the first kind of youth shopping mall at the time for people in the 80s and 90s. And we did it there, and it was a free space. It was a pure event. The champion was MC Weber from Beijing. Wong Bo, this incredible MC from the streets, from the Hutong from the ghettos of Beijing, a guy who I was able to make a friendship with and connect and build with him. And it was just a wild time, you know, back in those days, because this was raw, uncut, unfiltered. You got Ying Sar, many classic battles, a lot of Beijing versus Shanghai rivalry. This is 2013 when it's really started to blow up and the crowds are getting big, 1,000, 2,000 people come to see rap battles. Ira.
Oh yeah. He got big. He got big because he got featured in CCTV. You know, he got invited to perform. Where did she go? Where did Isa go?
Right after this, right there.
He's big. Got featured on like the Chinese state media, and because he's a Uyghur. He's a Uyghur rapper from Xinjiang.
Boom Shu Boom. He also lived in Xinjiang. But everyone was big. Everyone you're seeing is really huge in China. You know, Vava blew up. They all went on to rap with China, and they got management from a really large company. You know, very well connected and become very commercialized and mainstream.
What does it mean to me? 这是我的心 everything that I love.
热爱这个文化，并反哺这个文化。感谢为中文说唱打下厚实基础的前辈们，以及像 Showtyme 这样的文化开拓者、传播者，给足大大的 respect。潮流。
They say you are cultural pioneer. You are really the pioneer in this space. Iron Mike opened a lot of doors for all these prospective young rappers who went to become to big times in rap of China when that was featured on Chinese television and rap went mainstream. Respect. Respect.
Right back at you, brother. That's how I got it from being, and there was a glass ceiling on rap. So no one thought rap could even be mainstream in China. The rock and roll scene had established themselves, and even they were like gatekeepers. They said that there was some kind of gray cloud over hip hop and rap, and people weren't really getting platformed. And so for years, decades, no one would invest in a hip hop scene. And I did a lot of work to bring the rappers that inspired me from my hometown in Detroit, to bring them to China so they could connect and link up, you know, with the rappers over here and experience China, to be that bridge. So people like Royce the 5'9" was a partner with Eminem. You know, only got to have a duet album with Eminem. Brought him over, legendary MC, Grammy nominated. Worked with guys like Jay Electronica, who also he's a Detroit MC. Jay Electronica, a lot of people don't know. He got his start, like, really rap career coming from Louisiana in Detroit. So, you know, his DJ's from Detroit, and he's connected to a lot of my people back home in the D. Jessica Care Moore, famous poet laureate from Detroit, rapper, poet, rapper first. And Marv One. So countless guys, just been bringing them over. MC Supernatural, Freestyle King, just different over the years, DJs and rappers, and being a bridge and just doing cool stuff. Just tons of cool stuff. All kind of events, interactive events, tours, music, licensing with TV shows. It's been a long career of always just excitement and fun. And
you're a legend, man. You are a legend. I'm very proud to call you friend. Now I am friend with the Godfather of Chinese Hip-Hop. And I really appreciate it that Dana really is very humble in real life. And he took me to show me the real Shanghai away from all the tourist spot. You want to continue to showcase the places we've been? I
don't have tons of pictures we can talk about. I got some video. Yeah, I think that, so after we left, because the first show we just talked about literally 2 blocks. We were barely on 2 blocks, and we saw all these things, and we spent a whole hour talking about that. But we left from Kandinglu and Yampinglu, and I took a little detour. Like, we should have turned left on, I think it's Kandinglu. No, Yampinglu. We should have just turned left on Yampinglu, and we would have went straight to our destination. We went north a little bit and then turned left. And that's how I got lost, and we looped around. So from where we walked to where we ended up, we walked about 2 miles. And adding up all the time.
for my audience, we are talking about the first day I met Dana in Shanghai when he took me around on the ground, his favorite walking route in Shanghai, because Dana loved to walk in the city, and China, the Chinese city are very walkable, and like their design, they have very wide pedestrian sidewalks, and so we walk everywhere. The first day we walk a long way. It was good exercise, and we got to see a lot of things you might have missed if you were just in Shanghai, like just going to all the tourist places.
Yeah, so we had our stroll. We got to really enjoy the streets and see the layers of history in the different buildings, the architecture, share some stories, catch up, pay attention to how people live their everyday life. That's one of the things that I would do when I was on tours. When I said I did 116 shows in 60 cities, I probably only went to like 30 of them. But every time I would go to a city, we would have a nice budget. I would go and scope out the city first. I would go on a Thursday, and I would book the hotel for all the artists that were flying in. So I wanted to pick the nicest hotel that's affordable and a nice place that can quickly get to the venue. So I would have a budget to drive around the whole city and explore all these cities in China as well, walk around. So I picked up that habit from going to school at Michigan State, a large campus, second largest campus in America, just walking everywhere. So I'm a big walker. So we walked 2 miles before we got to that new district that we hung out. It's called 98 Creativity Park. And there are a bunch of, nice swank clubs and bars and lounges. And, prior to that, we had saw so many cafes. Shanghai has the world's most cafes. No one has more coffee bars, spaces in Shanghai right now. It's something ridiculous. It's a ridiculous figure. I was kind of blown away that it's number one in the world. But just kind of another creative space where you can chill. People are sitting out with the canopies, with the canopy tops, under the sun, having some drinks, chatting. We went by Revolution Cocktail, really famous place, and it was started by a friend of mine, Jill, from France, who also kind of got the whole idea and concept from our hip hop parties. The whole club is based off a club called Pegasus. I was the first one to do hip hop parties at Pegasus, back in the mid 2000s, and he took that and turned it into a whole, basically an entire brand that was replicated across China. And what we're going to see later, some of the venues and the videos I'll show you, is all of these hip hop brands that have turned into nightclub brands across the country. But this is the point after you walked and you had something to do. You had to do an interview, and it was a really interesting moment because, all right, you got to do an interview. I live at the north of the north of the city. Your place is kind of in the south. We were already in the middle, and I was planning to take you around to show you more because we hadn't even really done anything yet. It was going to get crazy. So I'm like, I'll just stay downtown. You go do your interview at the hotel, come back and meet me. And, I look at you, you look at me, and I'm like, all right, you got to get a taxi. And you're like, yeah, okay, got to get a taxi. And it's just kind of like this moment. I'm like, yeah, bro, you got to get a taxi. And you're like, all right, grab a taxi. Let me raise my hand. I'm like, you're not going to get a taxi in Shanghai if you raise your hand. No one's like, that's when I realized you're not like the Chinese anymore. Or at least not the modern, the last
I'm the ancient traditional Chinese, time traveling from back in 1980s China. Like, I'm not the modern Chinese of 2025 in Shanghai, so I don't know all the latest technology, all the gadgets, all the apps. So I had to rely on locals like Dana to get me updated, to upgrade, to get the 2025 upgrade. So go ahead, Dana.
So yeah, I think that's when it's an important point because Shanghai is the future. It is like living in the future, and most people come here and they don't understand how the system works because they're not living on this kind of system, and your phone's not set up. But once you're tapped in and locked in, it is so convenient. It's amazing. But you gotta have Didi.
For my excuse, I because back in 2019, which is the last time I spent significant time in China. Back then, WeChat and Alipay didn't allow foreign bank cards to be associated with. So back then, I had to go use my auntie's bank account to associate with my WeChat. And the problem is when I try to call Didi, use a Didi app, which is a Chinese rideshare app, Didi actually bought out China Uber. So now Didi is the biggest rideshare app in China. So back in 2019, when I tried to use Didi app from WeChat, it first asked me for facial recognition. And obviously it didn't work because my WeChat account was associated with my auntie's bank account. And my face does not look 100% match my auntie's. So I couldn't use Didi back then. And so now 2025 is different because China has changed the rule. So now you can associate foreign bank cards, credit card with WeChat and Alipay. And as long as you have verified your WeChat or Alipay account, meaning you have put in passport information, so they verify you are a real person, then you will be able to use them to pay and use many apps inside WeChat and Alipay like Didi. And also it requires you to have a Chinese phone number. So if you bought a SIM card at the airport, then you are all set. You can because the Didi, they still need a Chinese phone number, so the Didi driver can call you on a Chinese phone number. So I just did not know. But thank you, Dana, for setting me straight.
Well, it was we had a little adventure. It took like 45 minutes for us to figure out how to connect everything, reconnect it. But we finally got it, got you on the Didi so you could get a taxi. And then somehow I think the like maybe the VPN was on. So the Didi came to pick you up, but it went to a different location. So we took 45 minutes. We finally thought we got it. Let's get him in this because you're trying to rush to do an interview. You got an important interview you got to do online. So you're rushing back to the hotel. And the Didi, we're like, where's the Didi? Like, what is going on? This is a nightmare.
That's another thing I realized is a lot of the Didi drivers, I think they're also very new. Like a lot of them are not Shanghai locals. So I actually don't know the street. So they depends on heavily on not the GPS, but the Chinese the navigation system. So navigation system tell them where to go. And because I think I had my VPN turned on, so my navigation system was really funky. So it pointed the Didi to a place that's really, really far away. We thought we could walk, but we couldn't. And it took us 45 minutes to finally. You told me, you know what, just cancel that Didi order and get another one. And we were able to do that finally. Yeah.
Yeah, so, we're trying to rush. The Didi is all over the place. We're walking on the map. And we didn't know that it was, because it works all the time. I've never had the problem. I've never had, to go through the changes you had. So with the VPN on, it's a different location. We couldn't find it. I finally, called a taxi. But that's a really good point, Karl. Like, I've seen this transformation firsthand. Back in the day, when I first arrived, the taxis actually would have plexiglass, like at the stores in the hood in Detroit, where the grocery stores or the local store has a plexiglass wall where we're keeping them safe. The taxi drivers actually had a whole plexiglass wall around their seat, and those days are gone. But the drivers in Shanghai, when you would tell them where you want to go, they always just wanted the cross street. They don't want your address. Just tell me the cross street, and by memory, they knew every single cross street in the city. It was amazing. These guys were so sharp, and they knew every road. Nowadays, you can forget it. Like, they do not know any streets. They don't know where they're going. It's all GPS.
I told them the exact cross street. They're like, no. The navigation system tell me to go there. I'm like, oh my God. And it was really frustrating because apparently a lot of the Didi drivers are new. They're not from Shanghai, so they exclusively rely on the navigation system. And they cannot navigate without it. If you tell them an address, they would not know how to get there. Yeah, so that was our struggle that evening.
So yeah, we finally got in the taxi, and then because Shanghai has such incredible internet, I walk around. I'm on my 5G internet at home. I don't even know how to calculate this stuff. I have like what is it, 1,000 Mbps. It's twice the speed of what most people have in the United States for like a sixth of the cost. And I'm like, you're trying to get to the hotel. Why don't you just do the interview in the taxi? This is Shanghai, man. Just put it on. Stop on your VPN, and sure enough, you were able to connect in the taxi as we're flying through the streets. We got back to the hotel. You did your interview. I had a nice break, and then it was on to basically to give you an overview of the nightlife in Shanghai. And the first club that we went to is called Owner's Circle, OC, Owner's Circle, Owner's Club. And I want to direct people. I don't have enough to show you guys about that club, but it's fascinating. I did a really good tweet. So check out my tweets at Detroit Showtime on Twitter and look up Karl or look up Owner Circle. I did a breakdown of that club and the history, and it's really cool visuals of me hanging out there. But the club has an amazing history, and it's got an Iron Mike connection. The owner of the club, one is Joe, one is Jason. Joe is from Wuhan. Jason is from Taipei. Joe used to be a battle rapper. He was in the Iron Mike. He used to be a b-boy and a battle rapper, and he ended up hooking up with this guy from Taiwan, and they put out a hit record probably 15, 20 years ago, and blew up, and got a nice following, and then started their own franchise of nightclubs. And so that was like my first taking me to a proper nightclub, and we only got to see half of it. We went into the lounge side, and I remember that you were really impressed, but I felt like, man, I felt like I didn't really roll out the carpet enough because it wasn't allowed you to.
I have to describe the scene. Like, at that moment, I really wish I had a camera, because we kind of like the door opens and I'm like, I feel like I just walk into like a decadent opium den or something. And they have all these like lounges lying everywhere and full of baddies. There would usually be a guy, and there would be like 2 or 3 baddies surrounding them. I feel like I was in a rap video, like this literally like I'm walking into a rap video. So next day I went to DJI flag store in Shanghai and got myself a DJI Pocket 3, so I would not miss scenes like that.
Yeah, I think because I'm so used to being in so many spectacular venues. I've been in so many, so I'm just like, it's hard for me to understand that most people are exposed to this. There aren't a lot of clubs like the clubs that we have in China. I'll give you one example. I'll show. It's the last video with the blue lights. Yeah. So this is like a futuristic club lounge. They've made it into like an old Tang Dynasty theme, but there's lights and all kind of visuals everywhere. It's just mesmerizing. And this is actually a restaurant and a bar, and there are people performing live, and they've got the projection screens to kind of take you back. People are all dressed up like the Tang Dynasty. So, man, there's so many venues like that. But the place we went to was Owner Circle, and what was really cool about Owner Circle, it really dawned on me because I just went there the other night, is that this club has a lot of plants. There's a lot of plant life in the club. There's plants all over the place, all over where your lounges. They've got like a waterfall on the balcony. They got the sunroof waterfall. And it's kind of just like airy and refreshing. So it's like a tropical hip hop paradise. And just like you said, you walk in, they got like an ice cream bar at the back, and people are chilling, and then there's hookah everywhere. People are smoking their hookah. So I just went there actually right after our interview. Right after our interview that night, our last one for the first episode, I just went out to get a breather. That's my favorite place to go. It's like the lounge chill place. And this is what I saw. If you go to the video with the dude with his back, it's So that's the kind of experience you get just on a random night. It's kind of like what do they call that? The flash mob. I'm just sitting there and this guy just starts singing opera, out of nowhere. I'm at the bar just trying to enjoy a little hookah. There's another one I put with the trees. Um,
Quando non sami ancora e mio poteva possiamo la sai di corazzo avete in questo paradiso in paese
This is the reason why I said I wish I had a camera with me, because people wouldn't believe me if I tell them there are places like this in China, in Shanghai. Like seeing is believing, but it's really amazing stuff.
and I'm just sitting at the hookah bar, man. I'm out of my own business. Like, what is going on? But yeah, man. So that was the first place. So sorry, you didn't get to experience the opera, and we were just in and out. I wanted to show you. We just came in, took a look, met a couple friends. Again, like it's like everywhere I'm going, it's kind of like the Iron Mike alumni. The DJ at the bar, that's my man. He used to tour with me when I was doing those Weibo tours in 2007. DJ Big One, so he's spinning there. The owners from a rap battle guy. The people doing the hookah business. My friend he's providing the hookah service. He used to be a rapper too, so you're going to hear a lot of stories just connected to the hip hop community. It's been incredible, the network that was built and the type of people that I've met and what they're into. These guys, he's got a hip hop bar and he's got like really talented soprano opera singers just popping up singing for people. Like these guys are top notch. And just like you said, this is the kind of entertainment that we get. And then you saw the sign, right? You're really mesmerized by the sign on the bar. Remember that? The sign?
Yeah. Well, so there's a sign that says, what is it? It's a reminder. It's illegal for gambling. What is it? Gambling, drugs, and prostitution on the premises. But later, people told me that's actually the standard sign at a lot of hotel clubs and lounges. That's the police warning sign. I saw the one behind the bar, and I took a picture because that was new for me. And but like this is kind of places people like this kind of clubs with very fun atmosphere. People just don't associate that with China because people have been so brainwashed by Cold War propaganda to think China is this authoritarian hellhole where everyone is just like being worked like slaves. There's no room for fun, right? But like you took me to some really fun places where people let their hair down and enjoy themselves. Yeah.
Totally. And so the next place we went to was we went to Fuxing Park. I'm sorry to get all up in your screen, but
is that the Fuxing Park or that's a different place?
It is. Yeah, that's it. That's it. So we went to Fuxing Park, quite historical place with a lot of historical significance and history. And the first place we went, they got to check their Twitter because you got the Twitter photo up. But the first place that we went was...
Let me see if I can find it. You keep talking. I'm going to try to look for it on my Twitter feed.
Yeah, the first place we went to was, I said, I got a surprise for you, Karl. I got to take you to something really cool. We got to get this moment. We're in this park, and it's on the right of this photo. On the left it used to be this massive KTV, and they turned it into what's called INS. I think, what is it mean? Into Nothing Serious. That's what it stands for. It's just this massive 6-story building in the middle of a serene Fuxing Park, all in one place. And yeah, so right there, we got Karl and Karl. So right in the park across from the club is this massive statue of Marx and Engels. And we got Karl Marx and Karl Ja. I think it's like, it's almost like midnight around this time. It's getting late,
Yeah.
pushing it. And there's like one lone brother, African brother, was sitting on the side of us. He's on his phone and just pitch black in the middle of the night. It's just us strolling through this park, and there's park benches, people just hanging out peacefully.
Yeah.
No one's worried about anything. And
and
right across the street, you pick up the story from what happens after we walk in.
yeah, I mean, like the a lot of young people were just like relaxing and chilling in the park after partying at the club. And I just thought it was funny that Marx and Engels are looking straight at the big giant three-story building that's like multi-level clubbing. And everything is not incongruent at all, because this is Shanghai, China. Like everything just coexisted. You have the Marx Engels statue on one hand, and the very young party crowd that goes into this 3-story. Is this 3-story or multi-story?
Yes, it's 6 floors.
6th
Yeah,
floor.
it's 6
Sorry,
floors.
6th floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you can see, like there's some people just hang out in the front, but inside there's more people, and you got me VIP access to like all different levels, and then it was nice. It was definitely something different. Yeah.
So okay, walk them through like us walking up to the entrance and going in, and from the top down. Give me the whole experience from your eyes. Do you remember how we walked up in there?
It was all blurred to me now, but I remember there's a different theme on each floor. Like it's almost like you go to like haunted house on Halloween. Like there's like a different theme room you go into, and they have different type of music, like a different style of partying, and a lot of young people, very young people, like teeny boppers. We're talking about like early 20s and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, when you pull up at the venue, there's it's packed out front. There's a lot of people all outside, and you got to wait in line in a queue, and you go through, and there's all the security, and it's like being at Disney World. How the queue is all set up with the turnstiles and everything, and you have to get a bracelet and buy a package. Usually, people get like for like 300 RMB. You pay, and you get access to all of the floors, like an amusement park. It's like the universal ticket, where you can go into all of the clubs with this ticket and get a drink with your ticket price. But we I just walked up, and then one of the homies, one of my handlers was outside, was like, "Get in here," and he just walks us in. For years, I didn't even know you had to pay. I didn't know people were paying that much to get in. So the homie gets us in, gives us our bracelets, pushes us through the line, and then we start at the top, and we just go from floor to floor. And basically, it's a massive shopping mall, and on each floor there are multiple clubs, and each club is a different kind of theme. So we started at the top at the hip hop club, where all the local celebrities go. Edison Chen is hanging out. Jackson Wong, they're all pulling up to the club, hanging out there. Then we go to the next level. There's like an underground techno club. There's the student dive bar kind of thing. There's a place with like upscale cocktails, a shisha lounge. And so you go through this whole universe, and there are people, falling and stumbling everywhere. Like it's just full of energy, full of movement. People are going up, down, different groups. It's really a party goer's dream. They figured out the secret to like club hopping instead of.
We're on our weekday nights too, I think.
It was a Sunday night. Yeah. It was still crowded as heck. So And again, it was like you didn't know all this because I don't even go out that I don't go out that much anymore. Just to take out my friends. But it is surreal because every club I'm bumping into someone that it's always like an Iron Mike connection. We were at that first club at the top. The DJ that was spinning, that was one of my homies. He used to, to spin at the battles. And then when we finally got to, I kind of wanted to cap the night off with, the best experience I could give you. This large, spacious venue that's sort of like a mixture between KTV, karaoke bar, nightclub, restaurant, live stage theater, everything all combined in one. It's like a mini amphitheater with one of the biggest performance stages and LED screens and lighting show in all of China.
That is me. that is me. That was good time.
It was a pretty exhilarating experience. It was a good way to cap off the evening. The stage is just spectacular. When my friend performs on that stage, he says it's almost like being shot out of a cannon. The feeling when he gets on stage, and the gentleman on stage is that's my good brother Wink. He's in his 60s now. I'm not gonna put his whole age out there, but he is in his 60s, and he moved to China he moved to Hong Kong in 1992. He's one of the first and longest living African Americans in China. It's really me and him. I've been in the mainland longer than him. He moved in 2005, but he moved to Hong Kong in 92 and then moved to the mainland. He's from Pennsylvania. His name's Vaston Pettis. Incredible human being, saxophone player, singer. And so they're playing all the jams, all the good tunes. We had you doing the YMCA. If I could, I really want to put that video up, but I can't. It's slow now. But you doing the YMCA dance. Well, a lot of the tunes that we know, our generation. Good to see Karl busting a move. You see the brother has soul, got rhythm, and just chilling out. And some of the guests that were there, like my friend Week, he was entertaining the band for Jim. Jim is kind of like the Taylor Swift of China. Her band was there, just hanging out, connecting. They were up front. But yeah, that was a cool nightcap from a whole day of several miles of walking and talking, bar hopping, and just my first time getting to know Karl Ja in the flesh, in person.
You're making me missing Shanghai, man. I miss hanging out with you in Shanghai already.
So part of the reason I wanted to show you, such a good time was I remember. See, the truth is about Shanghai. Shanghai is one of the most hated cities in China. It's hated and loved. Like it is. Like everyone can't stand Shanghai. They feel it's too pretentious, it's too expensive, but at the same time, there's like a level of jealousy because Shanghai is is doing so well. So it's always this love-hate thing with Shanghai. I'm very familiar with it. There was a phase of my life where I really wanted to get out the city, even though I lived here. I was just on the low, and I enjoyed going to other cities and traveling China and spent more time, living in other places and just being quiet. But I know on your Twitter, I think there was like a survey or questionnaire where they asked you your favorite places in China or your least place you like. And it was something about Shanghai, and you've made comments.
I used to shit on Shanghai all the time on Twitter, but I told Dana, now that I have actually experienced in Shanghai, I'm not going to shit on Shanghai anymore. Shanghai is fantastic. Shanghai is great. Any last words, last comments you want to make to my audience?
A couple of things I wanted to talk about that have been on my mind that are related to the whole experience. Um, you talked about in the last episode, you were asking me about like why I came to China and what my experience is like as a black person. Just recently, I was at a venue. It's called Chair Club. It was a chair club. It's a music bar, and I bumped into a bunch of African American friends. There's also a group now in Shanghai where Black Americans get together on almost like a monthly, bi-monthly basis. We share stories and have camaraderie. But this particular night, I bumped into a gentleman. One brother was from Texas. Another guy was from St. Louis. The guy from Texas was a drummer. The guy from St. Louis was a singer. There's a guy, I think he's from North Carolina or the South, also a singer. And there was another gentleman from Detroit that's teaching football out here. And I was there hanging out. I actually came out to meet up with a bunch of old friends who had also lifers who had came to China in the late 90s. Just happened to go out with them and then bump into these cats. And we were talking about how happy we are to be in China. And we all had the similar experience of, even though right now, as the economy is still extremely strong and still growing and expanding, it's not growing at the rate that it used to. So it doesn't feel the same as the heyday that many of us experienced where things were just out of control. But we are still so happy and grateful to be here. And there's that common thread. Like this is again, people from Texas, St. Louis, and it's the same story. They're all we just don't miss the violence. The violence that is so normalized that we're subjected to as black men, that those guys working in entertainment, going to a lounge or a club have to face, that you have to face every day on the street. It's the same thing. The brother from Detroit, and what's interesting about the young brother from Detroit, very similar to me, it wasn't like he just came from the straight poverty and came from the hood. We both grew up in some really tough parts of Detroit, but we slowly moved to the suburbs. We've lived in the most affluent communities in the United States. We were both living in West Bloomfield. I think his family moved to Novi. So it's not like we're comparing just the poverty and dark side of America, the urban underbelly. We live in the suburbs, and even that lifestyle doesn't compare to what you experience. This Antrengan, this safety, we say in China, Antrengan, the sense of safety, and this term I'm learning, the Shaokao Shehui, this ancient Chinese idea of a peaceful society, a harmonious society, that the government and citizens work really hard to preserve. And it's a quality of life that I wish more people would have an opportunity to live and understand. And one of the reasons I want to be on your show and I want to talk more, it's not even to brag about the lifestyle or the lifestyle that I live. Like I could show you all kind of crazy stuff about how incredible things are. One of the and I don't like to flash or flaunt, the things that I have. That's the way I was raised and growing up in Detroit. But the big thing for me is I know that right now my government is waging a war on China, and it is a relentless, brutal war. And I've seen the war plans, and I understand what is taking place right outside of Shanghai, right in the Pacific Ocean, in the South China Sea, with all these U.S. troops. The U.S., they do these exercises right outside of China, and they're crashing planes and helicopters and nuclear submarines into the sea all the time. And they're weaponizing and stirring up all kinds of chaos and havoc in the region right now. It's never been, in my experience in China, it's never been this tense and volatile with all of the disruption that they're doing in South Korea, in Japan. And I just want to raise the consciousness of Americans to know that this war on China is real. And we need to do something as American citizens to stop it. And I don't want to be a part of it because as it's the eve of Veterans Day in America, and I looked at the photo of my grandfather who served in World War II, and he served in the Korean War. And I remember the stories that he told me. And I'll never forget, Black Americans were sent overseas to slaughter Asian people. My grandfather told me directly, and it was very interesting the way that he put it, and I'll never forget it. He kind of projected and deflected what he was a part of. He said, the white man was committing terrible crimes, horrible crimes against humanity. And really, he was trying to find some kind of justification for what he was participating in, what he witnessed and saw himself. That my own flesh and blood was sent by the American Empire to slaughter Asian people. And I think that most people in America don't understand that history. We think about the countless lives that we lost, but we don't think about the lives that were slaughtered. And what I know is the history hasn't ended. The same mentality, this isn't ancient history, guys. This is one generation ago. And there are still 39,000 troops in South Korea, like 60,000 troops in Japan.
And most of those troops they're sending to do the slaughter and be cannon fodders. Many of them are from the poverty draft. I knew that because I lived through it. I told you I went through a 95% student body black school in south side of Chicago, Kingwood. I would remember the U.S. military recruiters will regularly come to our school, and he was straight up telling us, he said, like, guys, join the military is your best chance to get out of the ghetto. That's how he presented it. And then they sent these people, these marginalized kids from inner cities, and they go to the front lines in East Asia to be the cannon fodders for the empire, right? And so it still goes on. That still goes on today. It's not, the history hasn't ended.
It has not stopped. I remember throwing parties in Hong Kong, and I'm living my best life, sponsored by Johnny Blaze, throwing a hip-hop party at Club Ing, mid 2000s. And the naval ship docks at the Hong Kong harbor, can't dock anymore. And American soldiers get off the ships and come to my party. There were all these young men from Detroit, and they were so happy to see me, so happy to find a hip-hop party in China. And they were getting off the ship, these young, hard men with Detroit tattoos on their hands and on their neck. And we partied all night. And I knew these brothers were already war-torn veterans from the streets of Detroit. And they were going to be sent off to fight in West Asia, in Iraq, and in Central Asia, Afghanistan. And what people don't realize right now is our government is gearing up to send them to East Asia. And what they want to do, and what I want to stop, they want to blow up the hip-hop party. They want to blow up hip-hop. They want all the clubs and all these wonderful things that I'm showing you. The reason they demonize China is because they're going to drop nuclear bombs here. They're going to try to decimate and destroy all of this. And we have to stop it. So I would much rather, instead of you guys, joining the military and taking orders to bomb and destroy and desecrate people, I want to invite you to join the party. So come on over, join the party in China, join with us, build with the people, connect with them firsthand, so you know what you're getting into, and so you don't have to go through what my grandfather went through and had the courage to tell me that they actually did, which was massive slaughter of people in Korea and throughout East Asia. And so I think on that note, please, for your viewers, give me a follow on Twitter. I'm really trying to step up my voice and connect with more people, trying to get on the show more, share more stories. But it's Detroit Showtime at Twitter. Give me a follow, check out my tweets. And thank you again for having me on the show. And we still got part 3 because we didn't get into day 2. So
okay, thank you very much, Dana, for making your time to talk to us. And everybody follow Dana on Twitter. I will also have his social media links in the description below. Make sure to give him a follow. And thank you, everyone. And also click like and subscribe on the channel. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Until next time, Dana will be back because we're friends, and there's so much we have to talk about life in China, etc. So